Hi there, you're welcome. We want to take a question on the quadratic equation. We want to find the root of this equation 2x squared minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. Alright, now if you are to solve questions like this, we know we have factorization method, we have completing the squares, we also have the use of a formula, and if possible the use of a graph, that's graphical method. Now let's try and see whether we can employ the use of factorization. Now when we have any equation of this form, if you're asked to factorize this under factorization, what do? We multiply a and c, that is, we find the product of a and c. If you multiply, you find the factors of those numbers. When you add, you have to get the b, which is the coefficient of x. So in this case, we have 2 times minus 1. If I multiply this, I have what? Minus 2. So that's my AC. I find the factors of minus 2. If I add those factors, I should get a negative 3. If I add the factors, I should get a negative 3. Now, one trick about this under factorization, if both terms here is negative, it means that your factors, one will be negative, one will be positive, and it is the biggest one or the bigger one that is negative. For me to get a negative value here, I have to subtract a bigger number from a smaller one. So it means that the factors of minus 2 will be minus 2 and 1, because this is the biggest one. So the bigger one will take minus and the smaller one will take a positive number. So this time this, yes, I have my negative 2, but if I add this, I get negative 1. So it means that the number in here I can't get, and there is no other factors of minus 2 that I can find that can give me a negative 3. So right away it means that factorization cannot work. The moment you cannot get the factors of the product that can give you a sum of this, then it means that we cannot use a factorization method. So we have to take what we call completing the square, or better still, the use of a formula. Now, for a completing the square, from the method we have is that from the previous videos, we were solving it, we have that we have to make the coefficient of x squared always to be 1. So if it is not 1, we divide through the equation by the coefficient we have there in order to have it as 1. So this is going to be, I will divide the whole of this by what? 2. So 2x squared over 2, 3 over 2x, 1 over 2 equals to 0 over 2, which is also what? 0. So if I have that, by cancellation, I'll have my x squared minus 3 on 2x. I can send this to the other side to give me 1 over 2. So now I am left with x squared minus this. Now the second step to follow is that you find half of the coefficient of x. The coefficient here is minus 3 over 2. It's not only 3 over 2, because the sign is attached to this. So this is the coefficient. We find half the square of this. So let's say half of this is going to give me minus 3 on what? 4. Then I square the answer. Half the square of the coefficient of x. So here I am going to add that answer to both the left hand side and the right hand side. So I'll be having x squared minus 3 on 2x. I'll add into bracket minus 3 on 4 all squared, if I like the minus will be here, equals to 1 over 2 plus minus 3 over 4 all squared. So these are the two methods that, or steps, that we follow. We try to find half the square of the coefficient of x. Then we add it to both the left and the right. So if I add this to this and add it to here, it means I have not tempered with the equation. Because whatever I add to the left, I've added to the right, so the equation remains the same. So now, from here, from the look of things, from the first episode, we were told that if you have anything on your left, it is nothing but the square of the first term and the second term, because this is a polynomial. So it's going to be x, this is minus 3 on 4 all squared. So the whole of this become this bracket equals to 1 over 2 if I perform the square of this. So I'm going to have plus. If you have this, we can still have it to be minus 3 on 4 all squared. Alright, so if you have it all squared like this, don't forget, if I have minus 3 all squared, this simply means that the minus 3 is multiplying itself. So minus 3 times minus 3. So this also can also mean that we are having minus 3 over 4 as 1 multiplying minus 3 over 4. Since it's a square, so the numerators will multiply to give us positive 9. The denominator also multiply to give us what? Positive 16. So our right hand side of the equation is just going to be 1 over 2 plus 9 on what? 16. Alright, so let's do that. So it means that if I want to repeat what I have here, it will be this all squared equals to 1 over 2 plus 9 on what? 16. Don't forget, this is also a fraction that we can still simplify, finding the LCM of 2 and 16. I believe that would be 16. Then 2 goes into 16 how many times? I think 8. 8 times 1 will give us 8. 16 into itself, 1 times 9. So we have 17 over 16. So that will be the simplification of this side. So I'll be having this x minus 3 on 4 all squared equals to 17 over what? 16. Now if you have the left and the right and you're having a square, all we do is that we find the square root of both sides so that the square root and the square can cancel out. So if I find the square root of both sides, it will be having x minus 3 over 4 equals to plus or minus the square root of 17 over 16. Plus or minus because under said or irrational numbers, we know it is plus or minus the nth root of a certain number. It's plus or minus n root. So we have plus or minus out there. So if I have plus and minus, what do we do? I am looking for x. Simply means I'm looking for the root of x. So in this case, I am going to maintain the x, send this to the other side, meaning add minus 3 over 4 to both sides. If I add it here, it will go. So I'll be having positive 3 on 4 plus or minus. You see, this is under said one property that says that if I have a over b or under the root is the same as the root of a over the root of b. So I'll separate the root on this as root 17 and root 16. Root 17 will maintain itself to be root 17 because we don't have any other factors that multiply itself to give you that. But 16 will just be what? 4. Because root of 16 is 4. So I have this. So from here we can see that we have like terms. So we can perform x equals to, if we have like terms, you only operate the numerators. They become 3 plus or minus root 17 over what? 4. So this is what we get. So since it's plus and minus, it means that we are looking for two factors. The roots are always 2. So in this case, we are going to have 3 minus root 17 over 4 or 3 plus root 17 over 4. So if I use calculator and operate this, the answer I will get will be 1 of the root. And if I use calculator on this, that will also give me the second root of that. Let's operate this on a calculator and see. Alright, so if you use calculator, that is 3 minus the root 17 over 4, we get 1.78. If you put this in the calculator, you get negative 0.28. So these are the root of the equation that we were asked to solve. So under completing the square, 1, find your x squared to have a coefficient of 1. Find half the square of the coefficient of x. When you add it to both the left and the right, all you need to do is to manipulate, perform your operations, addition, subtraction, whatever you have, then you end up getting your final answer. So this is how we do completing the square. Thank you very much for watching. You can share this with those friends that you have that you think may need this tuition, so they can also benefit from it. The names still remain Gakpo, Fred, and Taxonomy Online Mathematics. Thank you very much.